we cannot overstress that. Sector illiquidity, non-compliance to industry documents.
In conjunction with all our agencies, we are not taking this issue lightly. We are taking it very seriously, and we believe it requires urgent attention and immediate arrest of these undesirable and ugly incidents. And the number of other external factors responsible for this great collapse, which of which is vandalization, which is responsible for the majority of the incidents that we have noticed this year. Theft of power equipment, vandalization of power installations, and all that.
The Niger Delta Development Commission has started work on the channelization of Kolo Creek. This project will serve 17 communities stretching from Okaki, Otogidi to the Ogbia areas in Rivers and Bayelsa State. The NDDC Managing Director, Samuel Buku, explained that the project aims to lower the risk of flooding in nearby communities. Joseph Kunde has details.
Flooding is an annual problem for communities near rivers in the Niger Delta, mainly due to the overflowing of major rivers and creeks in the area. This year, Rivers and Bayelsa states are facing significant flooding. In response, the Niger Delta Development Commission is taking action to lessen the impact on the East-West Road and about 17 communities by improving the Kolo Creek's flow. This project starts in the Okaki community in River State and extends into Bayelsa and will boost local trade and reduce the risk of water-related diseases in rural areas.
This creek is a nerve connecting the Atlantic Ocean and the Orashi River. So, when the flood water rises, because this creek is blocked, where the water is supposed to go to the Atlantic Ocean has also been distorted. Hence, it comes back as serious flood waters, which has resulted in flooding of the Ngene communities from Akinima down to Joinkrama. That is what also affects the cutting off of the east-west road, because the pressure of water that is supposed to be following this route to the Atlantic Ocean has to bounce back. So having come to this understanding, we as a commission, we decided to take it upon ourselves.
The leadership of the NDDC is commended for their quick response to the challenges caused by the blockage of the Kolo Creek.
Something that we didn't even expect. Other administrations have failed us. But you, the current NDDC, have deemed it necessary. We thank God that they will come and remove that tear in our eyes today.
The Commission is also working on additional flood relief projects showing their commitment to decreasing the frequent flooding issues in this oil-rich region. Joseph Kunde, TVC News, Okaki.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to discuss what the U.S. elections could mean for Africa. And my guests tonight are Demola Oshodi, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Protocol and Foreign Policy Analyst. And also, we'll be speaking with Abubakar Bello Abdullahi, is the former Deputy Director of the CBN. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, history has been made in America. In an unprecedented rematch, former President Donald Trump clinched the winning trophy to return as the 47th President of the U.S. Donald Trump, who is also the 45th President of the United States, won both the popular as well as secured enough electoral college votes to win incumbent Vice President and Democratic Party candidate Kamala Harris. But what does a Trump presidency mean for Africa in terms of immigration, economy, security, education, technology, and even the fight against terrorism? Tonight I'm being joined by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Protocol. He's also a foreign policy analyst, Ademola Oshodi, who joins me virtually from the UK, and former Deputy Director CBN, Abdullahi Bello Abdullahi, who joins me from Abuja studios. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Oshodi, good evening to you. Can you hear me?
Good evening. I'm good. Good evening.
So let me start with Mr. Abdullahi. Ahead of this election, pundits continue to make a significant point, and that is that Africa must seize this moment in U.S. elections to shape a future based on autonomy and sustainable growth. To what extent would you say this played out?
Hello, Jumoke.
Can you hear me, Mr. Abdullahi? Good evening to you. That question was for you.
Okay. The opinion polls all this while before the election showed that the presidential election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris was very close. But considering the result at our hand now, it has been a blowout because the Republicans have been able to win the White House, win the Senate, as well as the House of Representatives. So what it means is that the levers of power, the entire levers of political power, have been handed to the Republicans. Now, what does it mean for Africa? Now, you know that Nigeria is the second largest trading partner of the U.S. in Africa. There is ExxonMobil, there is also Chevron, operating in our oil industry. You also know that Donald Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on foreign goods entering the United States of America. So we really don't know, but it will have adverse effect on our country, because if you impose tariffs on foreign goods entering the United States, that may change the dynamics, if you like, of international trade. And this may have negative consequences, on us. Don't forget also that there have been long-standing strategic cooperation between the U.S. and some African countries in terms of military assistance, like you said, like you mentioned, in terms of security cooperation and financial assistance and even humanitarian assistance. Now, you know also that Elon Musk is one of the leading supporters of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has actually, hinted at forming a commission that he will hand over to Elon Musk. And what is the commission going to do? According to them, the commission is going to cut west. What it simply means is that a lot of money leaving the U.S. to Africa or Nigeria or, in fact, any African country in terms of security assistance or financial assistance or humanitarian assistance will no longer come in. It will rather be kept, back in the United States of America. You also are aware of...
All right, in a few minutes we're going to compartmentalize this conversation. But let me bring in Ademola Oshodi. What does U.S. election mean for Africa? A path to prosperity or dependence, especially now that Donald Trump has won?
Thank you. It varies. Nigeria in particular and Africa in general are not the top priority for Donald Trump. Even the Americans. I think we only are gauged based on security concerns, issues of the Islamic militants or the around the Sahel that threaten Western interests. They don't want a place whereby there's another Al Qaeda sleeping and emerging later on to attack Western interests, particularly American interests. There's also Africa is needed for also to to provide peace peacekeeping for crises within the continent, Rwanda, Nigeria, and the rest of that. Africa is also a place for trade for commodities, from Nigeria, all crude oil, minerals from the Congo, South Africa. But we're not a top priority apart from security concerns. Now, Trump coming in with his American First policy will focus a lot on security and economic interests that will buffer, that will go against the Chinese or even Chinese economic intervention in Africa, and also the Russian, if possible, the Russian military incursions with their mercenaries in the Sahel of West Africa and even parts of Congo, Congo and East Africa. So it is purely strategic, and they would ensure that it clearly suits their interest. They would also be, on a social level, issues of immigration. Nigerians or Africans trying to migrate to America, we find it more difficult. So we know the first Trump presidency brought a lot of restrictions for people coming in from non-Western countries, or what he called shithole countries. So people trying to get their green cards, Africans trying to get their green cards, Nigerians in particular, in America will find it more difficult because Trump basically would prefer, less immigrants coming into America.
All right.
Probably the only immigrants he will prefer is West European immigrants.
All right. Let me stay with you, Mr. Oshodi, because you've come in with the angle of interest. With a Trump presidency, what kind of approach must African leaders adopt now, more than ever, in engaging with the next U.S. administration and ensure that partnerships serve African interests?
Well, number one is trade. We need to ensure that what they want is equates to what we want also. We want fair trade. We want access to their large market, and if whatever they want from us, we ensure that it's suited in a way that it benefits our interest. We want loans, we want cheap loans, we want debt forgiveness, and if we can't get it from the Americans or the West, and then we'll look at the Chinese. And obviously, if we can't get security guarantees or security assistance, we also have the Chinese. We also have, unfortunately, we have the Russians. So we need to make sure that we think about our own interests first. Just like Trump would say, America first. We need to think about our interests first. Ironically, Trump has favored Nigeria in his first term. He unblocked the arms shipment to Nigeria. During the Obama presidency, Obama restricted Nigeria from buying arms. We could not fight Boko Haram. We could not take actions against counter-terrorism. Trump made things easier. So because, again, it suits his own interests. By fighting security challenges in West Africa, it also protects the Americans and ensure that they don't have another 9/11 occurring again in their country.
All right. Mr. Abdullahi, let me pose the same question to you. With these strategies in mind, in terms of economic engagement, security cooperation, and Africa's navigation of the U.S.-China rivalry, which, many believe will give us better insights into how best to advance our own domestic and continental priorities in a rapidly changing world.
Okay. So just as like the other speaker pointed out, Africa will be on the lookout for favorable terms of trade. As you know, the liberal democracies of the West thrive on trade. So I believe that in terms of trade, it will be business as usual, because there is nothing that the American billionaires fancy like profit. But let me also say that Donald Trump is a transactional leader. So what it means is that those African countries that may pat him in the back or give him a good deal, whether officially or unofficially, will get profound, attention from him. Now, I just want to go back to the question of immigration, because as you are aware, Trump has threatened the largest deportation, of what they call undocumented migrants in the U.S. And there are over 700,000 Nigerians in the U.S. So what it means is that many of us will have to begin to, provide space for some of our brothers and sisters who Trump may deport, back to Africa. Now, other than that, a lot of family and business ties, between the Nigerian diaspora in the U.S. and many of us back in Nigeria will suffer because you will no longer be able, to go into U.S. and out as you used to be because there will be visa restrictions. Who knows, there could even be a renewal of the ban on Africans and Muslims, just like in Trump's first term, because as far as he's concerned, it is America first.
All right. So I want us to focus on, for the next few minutes, I want us to focus on Trump's approach to trade, favoring bilateral deals over multilateral agreements, with some saying this approach could have mixed consequences in Africa because bilateral agreements often favor a stronger partner, meaning that African nations might struggle to secure equitable terms. However, there is African Growth and Opportunity Act, which Trump has generally supported. So if reauthorized or discontinued in 2025, what impact do this have on African economies? Mr. Abdullahi.
Well, it will have tremendous impact. Unfortunately, what we have been selling to the U.S. in large part is crude oil. And in recent years, there has been a walk back, of the amount of crude oil that U.S. buys from us, mostly because Trump is talking about energy security in the U.S. You are aware that in the state of Pennsylvania, for example, which he won with its 19 electoral votes, fracking is a very important economic activity. So as far as Trump is concerned, what they say is drill, baby, drill, drill, drill. So he has less regard, for this democratic value of, closing or not opening new oil fields. So fracking, as far as crude oil, as far as energy security is concerned from the perspective of, crude oil production, I'm not sure Trump will look in Nigerians' way. But other non-oil commodities, I believe will be able to sell in the U.S. and will make good money from it because, just like you said, Trump does not so much favor group or multilateral trading, conducting multilateral trade. And so in that wise, I think that Nigeria would benefit from bilateral trade relations with the U.S. If I'm not mistaken, the balance of trade is in our favor at the moment.
All right, Mr. Oshodi, I'm sure you heard Mr. Abdullahi's submission. And while you react to that, based on empirical evidence, Nigeria has enjoyed more engagements with the U.S. under the leadership of the Democratic Party, whether it was Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and now Joe Biden. But it would seem that the Democratic Party, based their own liberal ideology, is more open to bilateral partnerships. So what does this continuity mean for Nigeria?
I think you said the Democratic Party was much closer to, our ideology. It does in the area of human rights, in the area of, racial issues, and also in the area of, I think, cultural. Africa has been having cultural affinity with America. You see Clinton playing the saxophone, you see Obama visiting Senegal, Kenya, and Ghana. You see, but in reality, in my own perspective, the Republican Party, ironically, has favored Africa, Nigeria more. Obviously, you talk about Jimmy Carter came in and started the huge trade with Nigeria on the issues of crude oil export to America. But subsequently, Clinton didn't do much. He didn't do much for Africa. He didn't intervene in Rwanda. He didn't do much for trade in Nigeria. Neither did another democratic love story of Obama. Obama restricted our purchase of military hardware. He didn't visit Nigeria. He didn't really have much consideration with Nigeria. Obama's Power Africa initiative had very limited success. But if you now look at George W. Bush Jr., he gave tremendous amount of money to Africa, and Nigeria in particular, in the fight against AIDS. Over 600% increase in U.S. aid to Africa, fighting AIDS. It was a huge turning point in fighting the disease. George W. Bush, another distinct Republican, gave out the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which also provided a lot of aid to Nigeria and Africa. You now look at Trump, another Republican, helped us, he released the bondage and allowed us to buy military hardware to combat Boko Haram. We bought Terraco planes that could fight the insurgency in the Northeast. There was intelligence. There's a lot of military hardware assistance from the Americans. So we see that happening again, as long as it suits the American interest. So we have this ideological, similarity with the Democrats being pro-black and everything. But beyond that, it's just cultural. It's a feel-good feeling. It's not really tangible for Nigeria's interest, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, people can challenge that. I think a Trump presidency will focus again a lot on bilateral trade. Okay. And will ensure that we get favorable treatment as long as it benefits Nigeria. And also, they would want to counter Chinese intervention in Africa. Okay. The Chinese are trying to make inroads with their Belt Initiative and also with the BRICS organization. So America would want China's influence in Africa to be reduced, especially with Nigeria.
All right. All right, gentlemen, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Community Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program tonight. We're discussing U.S. elections and what it means for Africa. And I've been speaking with Ademola Oshodi, who is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Protocol and is also a foreign policy analyst. And I also have Abubakar Bello Abdullahi, who is the former Deputy Director of the CBN. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Now, before we go into U.S.-China rivalry and whether or not it would cast a shadow over U.S.-Africa relations, Mr. Abdullahi, I would like you to speak to how Africa's economy needs to go beyond what some analysts have called mere market access and symbolic gesture. Do you agree that it's high time we looked into investment in infrastructure, renewable energy, education, and healthcare?
Very well. Nigeria has one of the largest body of foreign students in the U.S. And as far as I'm concerned, they are doing very, very well. You know, and, you know, in terms of renewable energy also, you will know that Nigeria, in fact, every part of Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria, there is a vast amount of sunshine, which is basically what you need, plus the photovoltaic cells, you know, to produce energy from solar power. So there is a lot of potential, if you like, for the domestication of solar energy production all across. Just consider the belt, you know, from northeast straight across to Sokoto and down to even Benue and Niger, you know, and Adamawa State and so on and so forth. So there's potential for solar energy, you know, in Nigeria. So I think that it's important, for example, that we get in touch, you know, with solar energy experts in the U.S. to explore the possibility, actually, of installing solar energy, you know, in Nigeria in a way that will benefit the economy, because energy crisis, so to speak, is here with us. But there is something I want to also talk in terms of, you know, economic benefit engaging with the U.S. You are aware that remittances, you know, from the Nigerian diaspora, you know, plays a great role, you know, in Nigerian economy. So many families, you know, get dollars, you know, U.S. dollars sent from that part of the world, you know, to Nigerian families to, you know, treat the sick, you know, construct houses, construct homes, even buy cars, and even buy what the Americans call groceries. So I think that it's very, very important we remain engaged not only with the U.S. government, but also, you know, with Nigerian diaspora in the U.S., you know, so that we continue to get these remittances, which is huge. Nigeria is about the first or second, you know, biggest receiver, you know, of USD remittances from our diaspora there. So, and this plays very, very crucial role, you know, in uplifting, you know, standard of living in Nigeria, and also oiling, you know, the economy in a way because of the foreign exchange crunch bedeviling us presently.
All right. Mr. Oshodi, as a foreign policy analyst, I want to take your part in security collaboration, which remains a cornerstone of U.S.-Africa relations, particularly given the ongoing terrorist threats in regions. What's your projection? Is it certain that a Trump administration would likely intensify U.S. counterterrorism activities, emphasizing on robust military engagement through the United States Africa Command?
Absolutely, it is in their interest. It is. It's not. They're not doing us any favor. They need a stable, secure West Africa. There's a lot of militancy. There's you know, we have traces of Al Qaeda there. We have traces of these, you know, of this very radical elements that threaten not just the well-being of West Africans and West African countries, but also the West. They don't want a breeding ground for fundamentalists that would attack New York, the Pentagon, or some other place in the West, or in Paris, or in the UK. So it's very important. It is in their interest. It's how they do it. They need to ensure that it also we need to make sure it also benefits us. We need to ensure we have longer lasting partnership. And to be fair to the Biden administration, they brought a lot of humanitarian and economic assistance towards this, and generally towards the old Nigerian economy. They've assisted. But I would say Donald Trump started direct U.S. military assistance in a larger number than his predecessor. And we should commend him for that, though he's been harsh in other Nigerian interests. Like, for instance, Ngozi Konjo-Iweala, he tried to block her from getting the head of the WTO, World Trade Organization. He'd also tried to stop Akinwumi Adesina from the African Development Bank, but he failed in that reason. But when it comes to American interest on the continent, on the ground, Trump has been very beneficial on security terms, on trade terms. In fact, when Buhari was the first African leader for him to be invited to the White House. So I believe Trump will continue this as long as it suits their interest. But in the same time, we should not wait for the Americans.
In continuation of this good gesture, how does Africa get him to commit to long-term, multi-layered strategies that go beyond conventional military assistance in helping the continent address security challenges independently?
Well, this is it. Americans are very concerned about human rights and issues of democracy and good governance. Donald Trump, I don't think really cares. He really doesn't care. He just wants to make sure that it suits America's interests. So, in many ways, it's good and bad. But how to ensure America's interests align with our interest is to ensure that we don't just depend on the Americans. We have other international partners. We have the Chinese. We have the BRIC, the BRIC nations that in many ways are more independent and that can also provide a kind of a counterweight to the Americans. We also have the European Union that also comes in. So we don't want to depend too much on the Americans. We want to make sure we have very varied interests. We have the Brazilians that also assist us. So that's how we can do it. But you cannot ignore America. They're the largest economy. They're the most best strategic partner in any country can have. If you have the Americans on your side, you get a lot of money, you get advice, you get hardware, you get knowledge. So it's very important we keep the Americans on our side, but at the same time, we need to ensure that it aligns with us. We also have other partners that where the Americans fail or resist, we can get assistance from them, whether it's cheap loan, whether it's advice, whether it's equipment, so it's very important in that regard. But it's important to also note that America needs Nigeria in particular. I mean, they may have issues in other parts of other African countries, but they need Nigeria. There's a large Nigeria diaspora population, even though Trump would probably say they didn't vote for him, but they can't be ignored. We have a lot of, as the guest said, there's a lot of remittance money coming in from the Nigerian diaspora coming into Nigeria. We also have Americans, a lot of movement with, regarding communication, trade, and investments. So there's a lot of huge American investments in Nigeria that Donald Trump or any other American government president cannot ignore. The trade is in our favor, right, and we need to ensure that we can build on that.
All right. Mr. Abdullahi, let me come to you. Let's talk about the U.S.-China rivalry. Does it cast a shadow over U.S.-Africa relations? And I'm asking because China has become Africa's largest trading partner, and its influence spans crucial sectors. Talk about infrastructure, telecommunications, and natural resources. A Trump presidency would likely heighten the U.S.-China rivalry, forcing African nations into difficult diplomatic waters. And some have said Trump's tendency to impose tariffs on Chinese goods and restrict Chinese technology could compel African countries to choose between strategic allies, potentially leading to greater polarization on the continent. So I want you to speak to how African leaders must navigate this.
Well, China is increasingly, emerging as another superpower or big global power, that can no longer be ignored. You look at how, how strong a role that China is right now, playing in BRICS, because China has what it calls Road and Belt Initiative, RBI, under which so many countries, not only in Africa, but all across the world, third world countries, have bought into it. And what's the RBI? The Road and Belt Initiative is nothing other than, ensuring that Chinese technology, Chinese expertise is shared, with less developed countries, in such a way that it will provide a leeway, for China to worm its way, into the hearts of Africans or third world countries. You remember that it was China that built the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. But more than that, in practical terms, China is increasingly, becoming, a serious economic and investment player in Nigeria because of the roads, the bridges and the airports and even the railway, that they are constructing in Africa and Nigeria in particular. It's China that built the blue and red lines in Lagos. It's also China that built the Kaduna Abuja rail line. So China has its own role to play, and America has its own. What appeals, to us about China is the fact that Chinese technology, is simpler. It's not as tough, as that of US, and it's also cheaper. So a lot of the things that US may do to you at $2, China may just do it for you at $0.50 or probably $1, and it's as good, And it's because Chinese labor is also cheap. So I think that China has really taken, practical steps to, worm its way into the hearts of African leaders because of the roads, the railway, the bridges and airports it is building all across Africa. So I think that a lot of African countries, and Nigeria in particular, cannot forego the relations with China, at the expense of Chinese relations with Chinese. You cannot, continue to just relate with America, even though their technology is not quite accessible and affordable. You must continue to find a way to continue to relate with China economically and increasingly politically also.
All right, Mr. Oshodi, you may want to comment here. My point is, the continent relies heavily on Chinese loans and infrastructure investment. Under the Trump administration, how do African nations avoid being pushed into a binary choice between the U.S. and China?
Well, China is a growing power, and China cannot be ignored. But as much as China gives very, very easy and cheap loans and infrastructure, good infrastructure, or assistance to Africa, China comes with its own challenges too. China would ensure that you take as much loan as possible with and then in a situation whereby if you can't pay this loan, then they will make it difficult for you. Like in Zambia. Zambia is such a Chinese debt-ridden country that the Chinese people are in different sectors in the Zambian economy to ensure that China gets their money back. China's loan also is ensures that their interest is also prevalent. So they want you to ensure that how they condone the international activities, whether in Taiwan or whether in anywhere else that they may come in conflict with the West, especially the South Asian Sea, where they're trying to take dominance there. So you don't want to basically jump into something without ensuring that you're not being trapped. Now, but the Chinese come with no conditions. They will give you anything you want, whether it's human rights violation or whether there's no democracy. For instance, there's a lot of Chinese new investments in this new military administration in West Africa, whereby the West are forbidden, Americans and the Europeans are forbidden for trading with them. China is rushing there with very, very cheap loans and equipments. So we need to ensure that do we want interference from the Chinese or want interference from the West, especially led by the Americans. My advice is for us to balance things and to ensure that Nigeria is very independent. We ensure that our interests is well taken care of. And it's very important that in Nigeria we think about our long-term interests. It's not just what we get now. In China we have the Chinese are basically providing all sorts of equipment. Are these equipment are they lasting? Are they secure? In both countries, the Americans and the Chinese, come across as very humanitarian or very egalitarian. We need to be ensure that the interest is actually very, very open, and we ensure that it's not something that is going to trap us, for generations to come. Nigeria has ensured that we have multiple partners in the European Union. We have, India, we have Brazil, we have Turkey. Turkey is providing a lot of equipment, military hardware. So it's important that we diversify our partners for humanitarian, for financial assistance, for military, for trade, especially with this African Union opening up trade with a borderless trade. So it's important that we do that and not depend too much on one country or one interest.
So for ECOWAS, how do you think the body will not only receive President Trump, but also partner with the U.S. for trade and foreign direct investment?
Well, Americans don't really, again, it's America's biggest interest in West Africa is security. They had military bases in Niger, in Mali, and places like that. I think just Niger. But the Nigerians have kicked them out and kicked the French out, kicked the Germans out. So Americans are probably concerned that they don't have, they don't have footprints in those countries. But I'm pretty sure they have intelligence. So America is concerned about security. Then trade with those countries are very limited. There's not much really they need from West Africa, apart from Nigeria's crude oil. But so America will be very concerned about ensuring that that there's no rise in militancy that would affect the West, and they also want to watch the Russians. The Russian mercenaries are there. How much of an inroad are they making in Africa? We have the Wagner Group, going right across the Sahel and trying to provide security where the French and the Americans were lost out on. So Americans will want to watch that and ensure that they don't take over or they don't cause too much problem against their interest in those areas.
All right, Mr. Abdullahi, let me come to you as we wrap up. Africa and indeed Nigeria have always benefited by way of aid from the U.S. and other global powers. The question is that what we should always be identified with? Aid. Are we not old and mature enough to sit on trade and investment table to discuss business instead of aid, which most times come with hardline conditions? In 1 minute.
Very good question. I think that it's high time we move away, from seeking or receiving aid from any foreign country. What we need to do is to develop, our primary commodities. So if you have groundnut, you should be able to, process it and make margarine from it. If you have maize, for example, you should be able to transform it into chicken feed or something. If you have coffee, or cocoa, you should be able to make chocolate with it so that you'll be able to sell semi-finished or fully finished products, to US or any foreign power, so that you get the much needed hard currency. I think that it's high time we shifted, we moved away, from asking for aid and just also selling primary commodities. It's high time we processed our, primary products into finished products, sell it on our own terms and get the much needed foreign currency into our various countries, so as to develop our economies.
All right, Mr. Oshodi, let's wrap up with your conclusion on this particular question.
The question is on trade, is that correct?
No, the question is on why Africa, and at this time, why Africa must now be old and mature enough to sit on trade and investment table instead of always going for aids, or aid, rather.
Well, yes, it's important that obviously that we develop our trade. We develop, not just being a commodity continent, but also being a manufacturing continent. So if you do cocoa, as our guest said, we produce cocoa, we should also try and produce chocolate rather than, we have the Dangote refinery. So now we not only do we have crude oil, we can also process our own crude to have petroleum rather than importing it. So all those key things are very important. It would provide a lot of independence and gives us a lot of our own money kept inside.
All right.
But we need the expertise of the West, and we need to ensure that our interest aligns with them, all the way.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your perspectives on our conversation tonight. Ademola Oshodi, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Protocol, and is also a foreign policy analyst, and also Abubakar Bello Abdullahi, former Deputy Director of the CBN. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Please have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.
Any other issues, please let me know.
Thank you, doctor. Now that is a physician consultant. My HMO, Bastion, offers telemedicine, which makes consultations with highly trained doctors to be possible.
I got a healthcare plan that's right for me and my family. I have access to top quality healthcare services and facilities.
We also get access to over 1,700 hospitals and clinics.
Call 0800 Bastion, Bastion Health, the HMO that puts you in control.
Baby girl, tell me what you want.
It's Left Matas with Big Adink and Friends, Les Giddy, the third coming. Featuring The Band, Omo Baba, Remini Salaga, Gandoki, Queen Salawa Benny, Bash, T Famous, Atororo, Dr. Smile, The Countryman, Forever, Aristo's Band, Seriki Daria, D1, Taoma, Babalaria, Multiverse Comedy, ATM, Short Family, ATM 47, DJ Wiki, and many more. Date, 17th November 2024. Venue, Balmoral Convention Center, Federal Palace Hotel, VIP VI. Time 4 p.m. red carpet. Show starts 5 p.m. Tickets regular 7K, VIP 20K, table of 8, gold 1.5 million, platinum 3 million. Tickets available at Ileyon by Pods, GRA Ikeja, Ofada Boy, Surulere, Prince Ebano Supermarket, Lekki, online at ariatickets.com, grandtickets.ng, laughmatas.ng. Brought to you by Multina, Goldberg, Ace Roots, Goldberg Black, supported by Powerlex Bank, Enclave Green Homes, FIRF, Eleganza Industries, and the Lagos State Government. Laughmatas, the third coming. Oh my loud gone. Media partner.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. At ShopX TV, our customers are the heart of everything we do. As a special thank you for your continued support, we are offering our customers 10% off on selected products from now till November 15th. That's right, shop now and save big on some of your favorite items while stock lasts. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grab amazing products at unbelievable prices. First is our amazing 4-in-1 CookX blender. It's a food processor, a grinder, a blender, and a juicer all in one. The CookX 4-in-1 blender comes with 3 versatile cup sizes, each crafted to handle special tasks perfectly. Imagine effortlessly whipping up smoothies that are truly smooth, pounded yam and soups that are flawlessly pounded and blended. You would normally pay 189,950 naira for the CookX 4-in-1 blender, but call the number on your screen right now or scan the QR code and get it for just 170,995 naira. Incredible! And that's not all. You can get the CookX 4-in-1 blender in 2 easy payments of 85,498 naira. That's right, pay twice to get this amazing cooking solution. And we are not done yet. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the ShopX Ultimate Crunch Exercise Machine. The 6-in-1 machine is designed to take your fitness to the next level. No need to worry about expensive gym fees. You can now work out from the comfort of your home and achieve results. With Ultimate Crunch cutting-edge technology, you can transform your body. Its enhanced features deliver a full body workout that's efficient, effective, and enjoyable. The secret is its advanced design that combines multiple exercise models into one unit. The versatile machine features adjustable resistance levels, an ergonomic design, and a built-in digital tracking system that displays speed, time, distance, and calories burned. From sculpting your abs to toning your legs, upper body, and strengthening your core, you would normally pay up to 449,950 naira for the ShopX Ultimate Crunch. But for a limited time only, call the number on your screen now or scan the QR code and get the ShopX Ultimate Crunch at 404,955 naira. Incredible! And that's not all. You can get the ShopX Ultimate Total Crunch in 2 easy payments of 202,478 naira. That's right, pay twice to get this amazing fitness solution. But hurry, limited stocks available. So call the number on your screen now or scan the QR code or visit our website to place your order while stock lasts.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Out of more than 190 countries, the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Italy have been one of the best destinations for many Nigerians, either to further their academic career or to work. After World War II, many Nigerians left the country to complete their education abroad, mainly in the UK and the USA, and returned home as highly qualified professionals. Some of them work as doctors, engineers, among others. While many persons go abroad for various reasons, the ultimate is to live a better life. This is Femi Makonjola, a Nigerian artist who is now based in the UK. This is a peculiar case because you hardly find Nigerians in the diaspora making money from just music. He narrates his experience of why he left Nigeria and some shockers when he landed in the UK.
Why do I leave Nigeria? Of course, I left Nigeria for better fulfillment in life and also for settlement with the family, for greener pastures. And it did just stop at that, and also to further my education in life. When I got here, I was thinking life would be so easy. As a graduate, I'm just going to start working, doing the normal jobs that we do back at home. But in the United Kingdom here, it's different. Like I said the other time, I have to do some jobs that I'm not really proud of. And here, everything is processed. In the United Kingdom, everything is processed. You have to have some certification to be able to do some things. Even as a musician, it's not possible for you to just say, oh, I'm a musician, I'm going to put my equipment out there and start performing.
An average Nigerian likes to party, and it even becomes sweeter when the artist is from your region, which creates a feeling of home away from home.
Life in UK here is peaceful, it's lovely. There are basic amenities for the citizens here to enjoy, just like power supply, health system, and the most important thing to me is you don't have to carry security agents around because you're afraid